So this is my presentation. I'm going to, I tried to simulate toughening mechanisms of graphene-reinforced silicon nitride nanocomposites. Here is the content of my presentation. Firstly, I introduce silicon nitride ceramics and their nanocomposites. Secondly, the literature, a brief literature review regarding the reinforcement of silicon nitride by graphene. The toughening mechanisms presented in literature on the silicon nitride nanocomposites, and then finite element studies found in the literature on the toughening mechanisms of graphene silicon nitride nanocomposites, and finally my finite element simulations on the toughening mechanisms of the materials. So what are the advantages of silicon nitride ceramics? There are many varieties of ceramics, as you know, and the advantages of this material is it can be used in high temperature and high stress conditions. Its resistance to wear and corrosion is very good. For this reason, they are preferred in manufacturing of cutting tools and internal combustion engine parts like turbochargers, exhaust gas valves, etc. And the components of gas turbines, and even in biomedical applications due to their long service lives. So why, if this material is so good, why the composites of this ceramic is needed? Researchers or people always are after the better ones, better materials, so they want tougher ceramic because it is almost always have got less toughness than metals. So in order to improve the toughness, researchers manipulate grain sizes. They add some sintering additives, or they add some fillers like fibers or nanoplatelets. So when they do this, they got some improvements in fracture toughness. And however, other mechanical properties may degrade, such as Young's modulus and hardness, while the fracture toughness improves. This is a regular graphene nanocomposite microstructure. So you can see the dispersions of graphene nanoplatelets. In some studies, many different manufacturing parameters are applied, and you can see too many variations in the results. While you get some improvements and decreases in the bending strength, you get some improvements, likewise get some degradations in toughness. So the properties, the mechanical properties vary greatly from one study to another. And this makes material development studies a bit challenging. And in order to help with the material development studies, toughening mechanisms should be understood. So for this reason, I want to simulate toughening mechanisms in these materials so that it may help in the future studies for material developments. I couldn't find any tensile curve for silicon nitride, or it is nanocomposites, but a curve, a schematical plot is given by Kim et al., which tells that monolithic ceramics have got almost no plastic region. However, their composites have got some plastic region. This is a bit exaggerated. This wouldn't be wouldn't be the same level of ultimate strength. It would be a bit down. But anyway, so with the reinforcements, with the addition of some fibers or nanoflakes, crack path increases due to the mechanisms like debonding, bridging, branching, etc. So I researched the literature and found 5 major mechanisms. So the most fundamental one is crack deflection. And then crack branching. As you see, crack propagates, hits the graphene and separates into two. The third one is debonding of the filler. This is, if you can notice, this is a graphene, but there are debonding through the crack path. It is happening between the graphene and the matrix. And fourth, crack bridging and filler pull-out. All of these mechanisms helps the material absorb more deformation energy. So what about the studies done previously for the simulation of the toughness or deformation mechanisms of these materials? There are few studies, 2 or 3 studies made for this purpose. So by Chan et al. And the same group, I think. So they are presenting some useful information. It's good. However, the crack deformation, crack path they could obtain could just provide 2 mechanisms. One is crack deflection, and the other is crack bridging. So there is really less number of toughening mechanisms provided by their studies. So and their studies do not incorporate microstructure based on the experimental findings. And also, yeah, as I said, not simulating major fracture mechanisms. So I wanted to suggest an approach, a new approach for this purpose, or to simulate the toughening mechanisms. So first, find a microstructural image. I have done no experimental work. I don't have any facility for this. I am new to this field. So first, find a microstructural image, and this study provides statistical distribution of the nanoplatelets, and apply it in my models. So I apply distribution in the computer model. This is the zoomed in. And so there are graphene phase, there is matrix phase. So this is based on experimental data. And I also want to incorporate pores. So I thought this is important. It might affect too much on the mechanisms. So I wanted to incorporate the pores. How I did this is, so some discontinuities in the bonding. So I wanted to incorporate this. They work like sort of pre-cracks. Okay. So I also collected some other data from the literature, like the elastic properties of graphene. So likewise, the matrix, that of matrix. And yeah, microstructure, some other microstructural data like thickness and average length of graphene nanoplatelets. So average length was found as 2 micrometer, average thickness about 10, 15 nanometers. Okay, and I also used the properties for the microstructure and for mechanical properties. So these are 2 different studies, but they manufactured almost the same method. Okay, SPS, spark plasma sintering, 5 minutes whole time, average 5 minutes. And this is the sintering temperature, pressure. So they're almost produced in the same way. Therefore, I thought I could combine these 2 studies. So I created 2 class of models. One is tensile test models, the other bending test models. Tensile test models have got 2 phases. One is matrix, the other is graphene. So bending test models, in order to make them less time consuming, faster in the computer, I didn't define graphene all across the body. So instead, I applied composite. I applied the graphenes at the center where the possible potential cracks will happen. And in the surrounding area, I applied composite material properties, because I know that you can guess that there won't be any cracks because higher stresses occur at the mids. And So subclasses of tensile models. TA, so tensile A, tensile B, tensile C. 3 basic models. Tensile A doesn't incorporate any interfacial properties. Okay, it just assumes graphene is firmly connected to the matrix. And second model, TB, tensile B, incorporates interfacial properties. So, and these are like this. Normal strength threshold is about 400 megapascals. Shear strength threshold is 70 megapascals. In the third model, in addition to these, I applied pre-cracks in the interfaces. And the findings, the results are like this. These are the zoomed in images. In the model with no interfacial property, like firm connection between the faces, you see the cracks are straight. In the other models, we see more realistic crack paths. But when we compare these two, this has got longer crack paths, therefore improved toughness. And these are the force displacement curves. So this one represents this with porosities of the cracks. And when there's no interface effect, so this goes even higher. So no toughness there, just very little toughness. And as you see, this is an experimental result. You see, this is monolithic ceramic. The crack path is very straight, but here it is like zigzags. So this model is not valid. So there should be, so the connection between the graphene and matrix is weaker than the connection between the grains of ceramic. So this study supports this information also given in the literature. Okay, and this is for bending simulation. These results, similar crack path is seen. So this is straight when the interface are perfect, but when we apply so weak interfaces, we get these. But this one again has got more zigzags. You see, this doesn't jump into the graphenes very well, but this one just touches it, deflects, touches, deflects. And also there's some, if you can see, there's some branching here, but not here. So these are zoomed in images. So this looks more real compared to this. So these results tell us that there are pre-cracks and they have fundamental effect on the mechanisms. And these are the comparisons of bending bending plots. So force displacement plots of the bending simulations. This one has got higher toughness, as you can imagine. So when the toughness mechanism compared, I could simulate almost all mechanisms. As you can see, crack deflection, crack comes in, hits graphene, and directed. And here, crack branching, a crack path propagating, and here there's a graphene here. It hits it, and it is directed this way and this way, likewise this way and this way. So crack branching is seen. And debonding of the filler is also simulated. Crack bridging is not so apparent. It's not, I may not claim that this is crack branching, but partially. And also filler plot, as you can see, filler is pulling out. And when it is happening, it is absorbing energy. You may think why all of these are blue. It's because graphene has got higher Young's modulus. Therefore, these are zoomed in images, so you can see that these are carrying most of the loads. So the graphene, the graphene faces are more colorful. Therefore, so color grade is less on matrix. I didn't want to play with the color grades. Okay, and in conclusion, toughening of improvement is observed with introduction of porosities in the interfaces. Also, and more interestingly, Young's modulus reductions seen in the experiments. Young's modulus reductions seen in the experiments could be simulated in the models with interfacial porosities. If you look at here, you see there is a Young's modulus reduction. Stiffness reduced also in the tensile results. But the experimental studies say that this reduction is due to the waviness of graphene. In fact, there is not much waviness in graphene. If you look at here, they are almost always flat. So this one, single graphene is wavy, that's correct. But these are multi-layer graphenes, and when many layers of graphene come together, they tend to be straighter. So this hypothesis given in the literature that reduction in Young's modulus and hardness is not due to the waviness of graphene. So they claim that this is due to the waviness, but I show that this is due to the porosities. Almost all toughening mechanisms I could simulate it by taking into account the porosities and interfacial characteristics and also orientation distributions of graphene. And thank you for your attention. This is the end of my presentation.